Vivek Ramaswamy is a former presidential candidate. Vivek, NPR just put out a statement saying they stand by their reporting and inclusion is very important in what they do. You're going to have to grapple with these types of people. I mean, it just doesn't stop. What's the strategy?
Well, look, in the name of diversity, they've eliminated diversity of thought. And in the name of inclusion, they've created this culture of exclusion where certain points of view representing over 50% of the population in this country just aren't welcome. But on the positive side, Jesse, I want to say that took a lot of courage for that reporter, this guy, Yuri Berliner. I want to congratulate him. As a guy who probably disagrees with him on the substance of a lot of political issues, I still respect his willingness to come out and tell the truth. That takes courage. And I think NPR could take a page from his playbook if they look at their own audience in the eye and say, we lied to you about the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, Hunter Biden laptop, we're sorry about it, and here's what we're going to do to fix it. That's how NPR could have re-earned its trust. It's too bad the management squandered that opportunity.
What's going on, everyone? Talks here today, and we're just going to talk about liberal media, liberal bias. Now, if you're new to this channel or if you've been a long-time viewer, I appreciate you guys watching my videos. I've been talking about the media bias and how overwhelmingly liberal the journalist establishment here in the U.S. is. I showed you stats about how there's articles stating that being a conservative journalist is a rare species that is an endangered species. Sorry. I showed you how many people in the journalist establishment, the school of journalism, self-identified journalists are overwhelmingly liberal. I even tell you how they donate overwhelmingly to the Democratic Party. Also, I showed you kind of stories. Oh, I'm talking about my track record of 2 years being on the internet. I showed you also how they cover Trump negatively. Like Trump has an 87% bias against him, a negative bias against him because of the mainstream media, who tend to have a liberal bias. And I like this segment that Vivek did on Fox. That's why I opened it up with the intro. And let's get into the article. And you see the bias, only 3 sources. Now I'm doing this 6 in the morning, so maybe the left will start covering this, but I doubt that they want to expose their own bias to their own audience. And this is why the liberal digital media is hollowing out. This is why BuzzFeed went down. This is why all these news media are losing viewership, because people like me starting to realize that, damn, I'm getting a narrow perspective on politics. I'm not really being informed. I'm being propagandized, right? And this is what I'm trying to do on my channel. I'm trying to inform people regardless of my bias. I'm open with that. And I say, hey, here, you can check my work. I show my work. Okay, here's where I'm basing it off. This journalist actually said this. This reporter actually said that. Here's the clip. Here's how I'm taking it. How are you taking it? I don't assume that I'm educating you. I'm merely pointing out or showing you stuff, and it's up to you to decide what conclusions you come to. I digress. We lost Americans' trust. NPR veteran says network has lost its way. A 25-year NPR veteran wrote a scathing op-ed saying that his network has lost its way, pointing to various examples, including the coverage of the transgender issue and the refusal to use biological terms. Which, if you're centrist network, right? That's what NPR kind of project themselves to be. You would use more. You'd be kind of both siding it, right? You'll try to stay as neutral as possible, but when you use the language of one side, it kind of hurts your centrist claim. In the Free Press article titled I have been at NPR for 25 years. Here's how we lost Americans' trust. The NPR senior business editor Yuri Berliner wrote that an open-minded, curious culture prevailed previously, but said that has all changed, and now we don't have an audience that reflects America. The biggest problem he has seen at NPR is the lack of viewpoint diversity, and that's been the most important thing. And I think this is why I rail against diversity. This is why I rail against black culture, because black culture does the same thing. The biggest problem in black culture is not what it pushes. Actually, it is what it pushes, but it's this idea that we are a monolith. Black people are a monolith. And the only reason, and then these same people will say, oh, black people aren't a monolith, but how they view it is, hey, just like, I'm sorry, there's an Overton window in the black community, and it's all on the left, in the center, kind of. center left to far left. That's the Overton window that black people in black culture will accept. And if you fall outside of that, you ain't black. You're voting against your best interest. I don't want to hear it. You're talking white people talking points. Only white people will agree with you. This is the game that black people play too. This is why I rail against diversity and inclusion. Because all I see it really is a dogma. It's an ideological dogma. And this is what you're projecting onto our kids. The same thing, the same argument that liberals made in the past about why we can't have religion in school. Hey, you're conditioning the youth to be religious. We don't want to impose our beliefs on other people. They're being hypocrites right now here with the transgender issue. Same thing, not rooted in reality, can't test their theories, can't prove their theories that a man can be a woman can be a man. All they have to do is think it. How's that any different than atheists when they make claims about us being delusional about God? I still got to make that video, by the way, about the cultural atheist. It's coming out soon, don't worry. But you're allowed to push your unfounded beliefs on our kids and try to condition them to accept that they can be something that they can never be biologically anyway. But God forbid, we want Bibles in school. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, right? Make it make sense, right? Just let your kids read the sexually explicit books. But no, you have no right to keep these books from liberals for other kids, bigot. Oh, then, okay, leave your cigarettes, heroin needles all over elementary schools. What a stupid argument. Just don't let your kids read the sexual books. Like this is the idea, right? The Christians could have said, okay, just don't let your kid read the Bible then. Oh, but no, we don't want our kids to even have the opportunity to find those books. Literally, conservatives today are making the same argument for these highly sexualized LGBTQ books, transgender books, genderqueer books. But, no one wants to hear it. The liberals don't want to hear it. This is why only people on the right are covering this. 100% on the right. You see the bias on the top. It's frictionless. One story after another about instances of supposed racism, transphobia, signs of climate apocalypse, Israel doing something bad, and the dire threat of the Republican policies, Bernliner said, adding that it all appears to be covered and framed in the same faction. Yes, because of the media bias. After George Floyd's death, he said the message came down from the top of the network. Americans' infatuation with systematic racism was declared loud and clear. It was a given. In a document called NPR's Transgender Coverage Guidelines, disseminated by news management, was asked to avoid using the term biological sex. The editorial guidance was prepared with help of a former staff of the National Center for Transgender Equity, Berlin wrote. Imagine that. This is bias. This is why they focus so much on reparations, right? This is why they focus on, we need to pay $5 million to go investigate reparations when we can do that all for free. I did it all for free. There's only 400,000 slaves. That means there's only 400,000 people that can be. There's 400,000 descendants from these people, like 400,000 claims, individual claims, right? And whoever your descendants are, they split amongst that thread, right? Then you have to talk about the black slave owners. There was about, 50,000, 5,000 slave owners that were black. So out of the 400,000 slave owners, there was 5,000 of them that were black. So that means 95% white, 5% black. No one tells you that. Okay. Then after you get that out of the way, then you have to look at the greater population. How much of white America were slave owners? Then you find out only 5% of white America was slave owners. Ooh. That don't sound like a good shot. You better hope all these descendants of slave owners were rich, because if the argument is that people who did your ancestors wrong, their family now has to pay for that wrong, only 5% of white America is, I guess, at fault for that argument. And then you still have to make the case how you deserve to benefit off the suffering of your ancestors, or why you deserve to benefit for something you didn't suffer from. See, that's a viewpoint that's not commonly expressed, because what? Media bias, liberal bias. The mindset animated bizarre stories on how the Beatles and the bird names are racially problematic and others that are alarmingly divisive, justifying looting with the claims that fear about crime are racist, right? And this is also a racist idea. Why? Why is it racist? You just assume crime is all done by black people? Like, see, you see the liberals, like, this is the arrogance of the white liberals sometimes. I'm sorry. Because these people hate themselves or their people so much. And the suggestion that Asian Americans who oppose affirmative action have been manipulated by white conservatives, he added. Like, imagine that. Imagine someone told me as a black conservative, oh, you're being manipulated by the white conservatives about affirmative action being racist, about the bigotry of low expectations, about criminal justice reform. And I say criminal justice reform hurts black people the most because black people are victimized by the biggest perpetrator of crime based on race. 56, almost 50% of the crime done by black people. Who are the victims? 36% black victims of violent crime. Black people are overrepresented as victims of violent crime, yet criminal justice reform is supposed to be beneficial to black America. See, this is the argument that white liberals try to tell me when they saying that I'm voting against my best interest. At least that's what they said in college. I don't know. They might have changed their tune more recently. But it's crazy how there's such a lack of diversity of like it shows you that these race first politics is so superficial. The arguments are so superficial. But if you base things on your ideas, it's more substantive. So I want to end off this video with Vivek continuing his dialogue, chastising NPR for condemning diversity of viewpoints, because diversity of thought to me is more important than diversity of race, because people can get a bunch of people who look different but all think the same. Would you still call that diversity? Because the whole point of diversity is they're associating race with culture, which to me is asinine argument. Your race does not define your culture, and your culture does not define your race, right? But but in the DEI system, they equate it. Oh, we want people of different viewpoints. And they assume that you get different viewpoints by having people of different skin color. No, you don't. If I put a black, Latino, Asian, white liberal, there's a chance all of them will be liberal because there's an ideological bias. They don't care about that. They don't care about diversity of viewpoint, but superficial-ish, like your skin color. That's what they care about. They want to look diverse, but not be diverse. And I think that's the problem with DEI that I have. I digress. Let's get into this. Let's finish out this video.
Know how brave this guy is? He's still working at NPR. He still walks into the newsroom. He's just come out with this huge interview, this big piece, and he's just going to work like everything's fine. That takes courage.
And I respect the heck out of that, Jesse. And you know what? Our founding fathers, they had courage. What I found today is in America, you've traveled this country, people have common sense. Most people behind closed doors, probably even at NPR, believe what this man does. Americans don't lack for common sense. We lack for courage. And I think this man, despite being on the left, showed some courage in his move in this reporting today. And I think that whether you're on the left or right, when you're the only person in a room who believes what you do, you have an obligation to stand up and say it. And this guy did just that.
I agree with Vivek on this. I do think that we don't suffer from a lack of information or lack of curiosity. It's a lack of courage just to express these ideas. Like, for instance, like I get a lot of flack on the comment sections when I talk about DEI, the arrogant liberals. Like I said, minute I start making some criticisms or skepticism of the Democratic Party, I see all the coon comments come out. I said, damn, black people, bro, y'all really projecting yourselves, like y'all project your problem on me. Because I criticize, everything else. Oh, I'm fine. No word. Man, I criticize a Democrat. Here they come. Craziness. That's why I like to do the Joe Biden videos. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts about media bias. Do you agree with the NPR veteran? Do you respect his courage for speaking out against a network that he still works for? Just like Candace did, I guess. But, I digress. I'd like to hear your thoughts about this topic in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.